Hello everyone. In our last video, we have looked at look and feel of SAP HANA Studio. So in this video, we'll see how to perform basic operations once you add a system into your HANA Studio. So these basic operations includes like creating a simple table and inserting values into the table. So when we say creating table using SAP HANA Studio in your database, from HANA Studio, most of the activities you can do it in two ways. You can either use a graphical user interface. That means uh, I mean when you right click on any folder or any schema, you will get options like create new table and then enter your fields, then click on execute, save, all those perform like next kind of thing. Or you can also write SQL code to do your operations like writing a create table syntax to create table. So most of the activities you can perform using graphical user interface or using SQL. If you have a good SQL knowledge, you can always create almost all kind of objects using through SQL. And it's always better to go with SQL so that you will get a good knowledge on SQL also. So now we'll log into our SAP HANA Studio. So here I'll go to my Windows Start, open SAP HANA Studio. So now we'll see how to create table in Studio and how we can insert values into that. So I'm going to select modeler perspective. That is the role of application SAP HANA modeler. So just quick launch screen. So now if I open my HANA Studio, HANA system, here we have right HTQ HANA training. Okay, I'll get three folders. All my schemas will be under catalog folder. So if I drill down that catalog folder, I can see my schema here. So I'm going to create a new table under my schema. So first we'll see how we can create table using graphical user interface. Okay, now we can open your schema. So you will have four folders here: column views, procedures, tables and views. So now I want to create a new table. So I'll right click on tables folder, then a new table. Okay, so now you can see the first thing you can do is you can give a table name. So table name should be unique in your schema. That means you can have same table name in different schema, but you cannot have same table name in your schema more than once. So I'll give emp info. So I'll select a table name box and I'll give emp info, or I'll write complete name, employee info, and then where you want to create this schema, where you want to create this folder, in which schema you want to create it. So you can select the schema here. So I want to create it in Venkatesh, so I'll select that. Then you can choose what is the type of storage for the table. So you will have three types. One is row storage, column store, and table type. So table type is going to be a temporary table structure which can be used as an output parameters or as an internal table in your procedures. Okay, to store a temporary results, you can use a table type tables. So now I'll select column store as a property for my table. Then you can enter your fields. So what are the columns or what are the fields you want to have in this table? So I want employee ID, which needs to be integer, and so when I say integer, you don't need to give any length, and I want this to be my primary key. So you can simply click this box which gives X. So that means this is going to be primary key, and by default primary key is going to be not null, so you cannot change this property. And if you want to add any description, you can add here employee ID. So I can add that description. Now if you want to add one more field or one more column into this table, okay, you can click on this plus button, which gives one more row to add a new field. So maybe in this specific table I want to have employee ID, employee name, and department number, and then what is the salary of employee. So total I need 4 fields. So I can simply click this 3 times, so I'll get 3 more extra rows where I'll enter employee name. So employee name should be, so here you will get all the type of data types that HANA supports. So I want employee name should be n-varchar and then size 50. I don't want this to be either primary key or not null, or you can make it as not null because employee name should not be null, right? Okay, and then this is going to be my department number. This I want it as small int. Okay, I don't want this as primary key, either not null. Okay, then I'll enter salary, the 4th field. So salary is going to be my salary of each employee. So when we say salary, it should be a decimal. So I'll select this as decimal. So when I say decimal, okay, I have to give what is the length and what is the precision. So here only I can give. Okay, so once I give these details, to create a table in your schema, you have to click on this green arrow, which is execute button. Okay, so if you click here, you can see the status here. Statement create column table has been executed successfully, and comment for this employee ID is employee ID successfully executed. So now if you open a table folder in your schema, you can see employee info. So now if you want to see the structure of the table, you can right click on that table name and click on open definition, which gives your table structure. So this is the table that we have created, employee info column store with 4 fields. Now same table you can create using SQL. So what I'll do, I'll delete this table and we'll create it using SQL. So to create or to perform any SQL related operations in HANA, you should know the syntax. So you can right click on your schema, select SQL console. Okay, so now whatever the operations that you are going to perform will be executed on your schema. So if you specify any table name, then system will search for the table in your schema. Whereas if you right click on your system and select SQL console, and if you give any table, you have to prefix the table with schema name. Whereas if I select SQL console by right click on my schema, then by default system will search in my schema for that specific table. I don't need to prefix with schema name. Okay, so now syntax to create table is create table name. So table name is going to be employee info. Then you have to give fields. So first one is employee ID, which is of integer. Okay, then I can also mention here like primary key, Then the second field is employee name, which is nvarchar of size 50. Then my third field is department number, which is of small int. Then my fourth field is a salary, which is for decimal 10,2. So this is going to be syntax to create a table in HANA using SQL. So if you create table now, by default system will create row store table. So if you want to create a column table, here you have to mention column. So before a create, you have to mention column table. Then system will create column table. So now either you click on this green arrow to execute this, or you simply click on F8. So see, you can see, like, decimal we have entered wrong spelling. So now it should work. Okay, now you can see statement has executed successfully. So if you want to give any description, like, as we entered while creating using graphical user interface, we have entered employee ID as comment for your EMP ID field, right? So if you want add a description, then create comment on column. You have to give table name dot field name as, you can specify, like, what is the description you want to enter. So I want to enter as employee ID. So you can select it and execute. Okay, I have given create comment as, I believe. So the syntax to add a description for your columns is, we don't need to add a comment, sorry, create. So comment on column employee ID is description for that, whatever the description you want to mention. So now you can click on this green button. So we have to put this in single quotes. So once you give this in single quotes, you can select that particular execute select statement, particular statement, and you can click on execute. Now you can see that particular statement is executed. So once you create the table, you can right click on that particular table folder and refresh. Okay, now you can see employee info table, so which is of same structure but has been created using SQL code. Now if you want to insert, or if you want to load any data into this table, if you have a data in flat file, or if you have data somewhere in your source, you can load it, or simply you can write insert statement, insert into table employee info, then values, say employee ID 1234, and then you can say Venkatesh, which is going to be. So once you give these details, you can execute, which inserts value. Now if you go and right click on your table and select